spirit of the dwarven battle mage gazes upon the mutilated body that once housed her. As you approach, she turns confused eyes on you. She stares uncomprehendingly at your outstretched hand, slowly raising a bewildered gaze to meet your eyes. She stares, and you feel yourself drawn into the mesmerizing source pools of her eyes. With a jolt, her life flashes before your eyes. You become her in her prime, battling a felled magister in a deserted clearing. Electricity crackles from your fingers as you advance upon the magister. The magister is part of something dark, something cruel, something that goes against the very fabric of your being. All bets are off. Merciless, you attack her with spell and blade. As her warm blood spurts to cover your face, you are sated. A satiety you would never speak of, a satiety that momentarily fills the emptiness within you. Wait, who are you? You can't remember. You are thrust out of the spirit's memories and back into your own sovereign mind. You see the spirit of the dwarven battle mage before you, eyes downcast now.
Strong here. Even the stone is infected.
Ooh, how...
The spirit tugs and tugs at the source collar around his neck, though it budges not an inch.
We couldn't. I couldn't. Is it really our fault? The void woken.
He gives you a look full of hope, then remembers the collar round his neck and slumps forward, letting his hands hang heavy by his sides. You feel a tidal wave of panic drown you. You try to crawl away, but claws pin you down. You look up to see a fanged maw lunge at you. You shift uncomfortably as the wagon traverses a patch of bumpy ground. The magisters haven't removed your shackles, even though there's nowhere to run. You sigh and gaze outward. The landscape rolls past, empty and still. But then, you see something flying close to the horizon. Several things, in fact. You peer closer. What are those? Birds? Your eyes widen as they draw nearer. Those aren't birds. You turn around to shout a warning, but it's too late. dwarven spirit cowers on the ground, trapped in the fear of her final moments.
No, please! Help! Someone! Help!
She cringes at the name and turns to you, urgent.
Mortis! No! Not Mortis!
With growing horror, she turns her focus on something unseen, looming high above her. The trembling of the dwarven spirit tells you the halberd in his hands may not be enough to withstand his unseen enemy. He glances behind him, searching for an escape. He drops the halberd and bolts behind some nearby rocks.
Divine, save me! I don't want to die, please! I don't want to die! I don't want to die!
The spirit screams and screams as something unseen tears into him.
Looks like this is Lohar's place. Or what's left of it. Could Mortis have survived this?
You sought escape, but something stalked you. You fled. It followed. You came across a pile of bones. In that moment, you knew that this would be your fate.
There's a void woken on the bridge ahead. But where's it going?
An ancient memory overwhelms you. You are no longer you, but you still sense source saturating the air, more than you have ever felt before. You watch a figure stride through a cavern of amethyst and rose quartz. A man. No light touches this place, yet the stones and minerals illuminate his way. The man approaches a pearl sphere atop a pedestal. He lays his hands upon it, and source rushes through his fingers, and you are thrust back into reality. The memory fades, but you still sense the source the man has commanded, as if you'd possessed it for yourself. You turn away from the sunset, only to see that Stanley has dropped to one knee. He holds out a ring to you with a sheepish grin. Your hands fly up to cover your mouth, but too late to prevent a happy gasp of surprise from escaping. You didn't think he had it in him. You lose yourself in an ancient vision. As the man you saw before touches the pearl orb, you begin to feel yourself be. Various shades of grey swirl across the globe's surface, then part. You are free, joined by 7 others, summoned by sacrificial source. The 8 of you rush forth as shadows, past the globe, past the man whose body now lies limp on the floor, past the jeweled walls. The vision ends just as you emerge from the cavern. This memory, it feels ancient, a lost place in a lost time. You keep your eyes shut tight, muttering rapid prayers to the 7. All around you is a cacophony of wails, whimpers and cries for help. You try to shut them out and pray with even more desperate fervor. A loud, inhuman roar suddenly cuts through the cacophony. You cover your ears with your hands and pray on. A frantic dwarf knocks an arrow to a phantom bow. He lets it fly at some towering, invisible horror, visible only in his mind's eye. He reaches for another arrow.
Keep firing, damn you! He has to have a weak spot. He has to.
The ghostly dwarf ignores you, but the word Mordus forms soundlessly upon his lips. He drops his bow and yanks his sword from its sheath.
Come on, you filth! Let's see what your insides look like!
There's nothing there. You tried to run. Your source collar was heavy around your neck. You slipped on the slick stone, and then they were on you, dozens of mouths feasting on your still living flesh. The dwarf rocks on her haunches, gnawing at her own bloody knuckles. Her wet, fearful eyes flick to you. She lowers her fist just enough to hiss a warning.
Away! Away! Too noisy! It'll come back! It'll take me too!
She shrinks into the fetal position.
It'll come back! It'll come back! It'll come back! It'll come back! And we'll all be eaten alive!
Your efforts draw an expression of eerie calm. She stares up at you, wide-eyed.
You'll see for yourself! They take us for food! They take us for food for their spawn! They'll take you too!
Her stillness dissolves. Trembling, she curls herself into a whimpering ball and shuts you out.
Before he knows you're here. You think I stopped to get a name? They locked him up, but he got out, and they went crazy. They all went crazy. Run. If you know what's good for you, run.
A sorcerer. Still wearing the collar, too.
What are you doing? They're close. I can feel them. Run. For the love of the Seven, run. There's no time. Run, you idiot. Run.
is mine.
I'm ready!
I've spotted something. I'll yield to none.
You shut your eyes and try to block out the sensation of giant mandibles nuzzling your flesh. You hear it click-clack away. You daren't move, not after you saw what happened to the last one who tried to run. What do these things want?
What's this? I found something.
I'm positive I read about this in last month's Avant-Garde Alchemist. Maybe?
Lucky find.
Maybe? No. Maybe? Oh, what's the use? I'm positive I read about this in last month's Avant-Garde Alchemist. even if the runes were going right.
The dwarven woman hums to herself as she works with total focus and concentration. Her ears twitch at your approach, but she does not turn to you.
Yes.
What's this, woman? I know a bomb when I see it. Out with it!
Ah, one of Lohars, are you? You should know better than to stick your clumsy fat fingers in the Queen's secret operations.
Beast raises his fists in a rage. You're not sure whether he intends to crush the dwarf or the machine she's tinkering with. Beast's fists slam down hard onto the device. Shards fly from it in all directions, and a red light flickers on.
Looks like you've had some technical difficulties, eh?
I know what you look like. I'll report you. Queen Justinia will have vengeance.
The dwarven woman wrings her hands as she examines a contraption that looks broken beyond repair. Her ears twitch at your approach, but she does not turn to you.
Yes. I was carrying out important scientific work, for Queen Justinia at that. But some horrid brute came along and smashed it all. All my progress lost. You can't even imagine what a setback this is.
Looking closer, you recognize the device she works on. It is identical to the portal you were given to save the elves, right before the death fog annihilated them.
Though I'm not quite sure who you are or what business you have here. Safety?
She laughs, a tinkling sound like glass smashing on a stone floor.
Maybe. If you consider the Hall of Echoes a place of safety, you know this is a very specific kind of delivery device, right? Specifically for delivering death fog? Oh yeah, indeed. You remember when it was last used?
Her eyes gleam with a truly unpleasant zeal. Reflected in them, you see yourself standing there, white-faced, jaws slack with horror.
Wiping out the Black Ring with a side order of elves in the last war. Don't mess with the Divine Order!
Your mind races. Could this be true? Could it be you who brought death and destruction to the elves? All those lives? Who would set you up like that? Not Lucian? No, Lucian couldn't, wouldn't.
We don't live in a civilized world. And we dwarves won't be living at all unless we do something. Queen Justinia understands that. To be honest, I've reached the end of my tether with what I can do here. So, if you want to harass somebody, hang on. Hanig, the original creator, should arrive here from Paradise Downs any day now.
Lucky find. Lucky find.
You see yourself in the mirror. It's quite a sight.
The manifest said there was death fog. There's no death fog here.
The thought of death fog gives you pause. A weapon like that should give everyone pause.
I wouldn't use this garbage against my worst enemies. Some lines ought never to be crossed.
This scourge, this destroyer of my people should be wiped from the face of the earth.
Who wakes up in the morning and thinks, today I'll invent something that'll be able to murder people by the hundreds?